When you think of big budget AAA gaming disasters, you probably think of Cyberpunk and Anthem. But last year, we were blessed with perhaps one of the most insultingly awful launches of any big budget title ever. Battlefield 2042. This bad boy blasted our ass on November 12th, 2021, a release date that will forever live in infamy as the day that Battlefield well and truly died, sailing right into Valhalla, God rest its soul. Battlefield is an iconic franchise, an FPS staple. You'd have to travel thousands of miles to find someone that didn't recognize the name Battlefield or played it at some point. And this was the one that people were really excited about, super hyped for 2042, and Christmas was right around the corner, and EA and DICE cursed all Battlefield fans with hemorrhoids in their stockings that year. It was rough. The game launched in an unforgivable state, and to date, it is my biggest regret in the moist meter. I gave it a 60%, believing that the glaringly obvious issues would be addressed shortly after launch, considering they were problems that were made aware to the team before the game even launched. There was just so many fundamental basics that were missing from the game. It was embarrassing. It launched without a scoreboard. This game didn't even have a scoreboard until last month. And you would expect the scoreboard that they finally released to be absolutely game changing, just blow your fucking mind. A scoreboard so detailed that not only do you get your kill death ratio, but you can also see the fucking heartbeat of the other team as well as each individual player's SAT scores or something. You would expect 5 months cooking this up in the laboratory. This is going to be a crazy scoreboard. No, it's the most bare bones scoreboard ever. It looks like a Unity plugin, just a stock asset. There is no effort that went into Battlefield 2042, and I still gave it a 60%. What a fucking idiot. I believed that there was a fun game there underneath all of the bugs and neglect. A fun game that was plagued by a rushed release. But I was wrong. This is one of those I can fix him situations. It was just pure fucking delusion. The game is just awful. And the severe neglect from the developers is just baffling. They even made an enemy out of fans. Every time fans would complain about game breaking bugs and glitches or just ask questions hey, what's the roadmap? When are we getting updates and what's happening? The developers would just get mad at them, talk about how entitled they were. Gamers are so fucking entitled. They want us to actually make a game that works. We spit on them. It's just such a masterclass in how to ruin a franchise. Battlefield 2042 is without a doubt the worst Battlefield, and you can see that in its concurrent player count. Battlefield 2042 is so fucking dead that when you check its Steam charts, it doesn't even register a heartbeat. This is just pure fucking flatline. Look at these numbers here. This is still a pretty new game. And Battlefield games have always had great staying power. And to prove that, you can look at previous Battlefields. Battlefield 5 numbers absolutely dwarf Battlefield 2042's. Battlefield 5 has been out for years. This is an older game now. And it still has a much bigger community than 2042. And going back even further, Battlefield 1 still has more than triple the players that Battlefield 2042 gets. It's not even close. No one wants to play this fucking game. They're playing the older Battlefields. Battlefield 2042 is just barely doing better than Battlefield 4, which is a decade-old game, basically. This game was a completely soulless, shameless cash grab, and they didn't even make it work. The game just barely functioned. And the results speak for themselves. I don't know how Battlefield bounces back from this. The way they handled this post-launch is just laughable. They vilified their fans. And they made it like a developers versus gamers situation where they didn't want to listen to what the players wanted. And they just didn't do anything. They just let the game wallow in its own shit and die. Just suffocating on the odious Methodist that they'd created with this stinky pile of shit. They popped the Thanksgiving turkey out of the oven a bit early, and then threw it in a septic tank. Rest in peace, Battlefield. Now this brings me to the next game I'd like to talk about, Halo Infinite. I really enjoyed the gameplay for Halo Infinite. I still really like the gameplay for Halo Infinite, but the game is turbo dead. You can check the Steam charts here. There's not a whole lot of players active on the game right now. Now, I want to make it clear, I know Steam charts don't speak for everything, especially when it comes to Halo. There's definitely going to be a lot of console players, and for Battlefield as well, but it still does help paint the picture. You can at least get a feel for how live the service is because we have some numbers to work with. Halo Infinite is struggling, And it's not a secret as to why. It's because the game has no content. The game launched and everyone really liked it. They're like, wow, finally, Halo's getting its feet back. The gameplay's fun. Everyone was enjoying it. I was enjoying it. All my friends were. It was a great time. But after about a week or so, people realized, like, there's not a whole lot to do here. There's not a lot of maps. There's almost no game modes. There's ranked, which only goes up to Onyx, which isn't that hard to get. Like, a buddy of mine, Danking, got Onyx in all 3 categories in the span of a week. Like, it's not a whole lot to strive for. There's not a whole lot to do. So after about a week, maybe 2 weeks for most players, you run out of content to do in Halo Infinite because it didn't launch with much. There really wasn't a whole ton there. And it's now been, I believe, 5 months, 4.5, 5 months. I don't remember the exact release date for Halo now, but it has nothing to show for it. It's in the exact same state that it was when it launched. Now, they did recently announce a cookbook for Halo, which is fantastic. That's what the community's been asking for, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter very excited about this new Halo cookbook coming out. If you can even call it that, it's basically just like the most bare bones recipes that they found on WikiHow and then just slapped like Master Chief's face near it in the cookbook. But I digress. You know, who doesn't love a good UNSC pigs in a blanket, I guess. I don't know what the fuck's in there, but whatever. They haven't done anything, is the point. They're not adding any content so far. They're not showing any work updates from what I can tell. The only thing I've seen from them is they're teasing 2 new maps coming out. 1 big team battle and 1 ranked map. After 5 months, your big reveal is you got 2 new maps coming out? That's it? Like, that's super underwhelming. That's not going to bring people back. That's going to get people that are playing to at least be like, oh, okay, yeehaw, I guess that'll be good. But I don't know what you expect with such an underwhelming announcement. The players aren't going to fucking rip their shirt off and start twirling it over their head like, yeah, it's the resurrection of Halo Infinite, baby, just like Jesus Christ on Easter yesterday. You know, this isn't enough, right? Like, this is just, you've had a lot of time now. You've had a lot of feedback. Let's start being a little more vocal with where we see Halo Infinite in the upcoming months. Now, I do understand that there are rumors as well as a potential leak for a Battle Royale mode for Halo Infinite, and I think that's pretty cool, even though I personally don't care for Battle Royale game modes. It's at least something. It's more content. So if all of that's true and all that's confirmed and they do release that pretty soon, then fantastic. But it's still in a very content-dry state, which is why the game is super dead, which is really disappointing for me because I had so much fun with it when it launched. I just wanted to talk about this since we're talking about Battlefield 2042 and it being dead. Halo Infinite is also pretty dead right now, but I hope it doesn't stay that way because I do think there is so much potential still there. I just wish they would do more to communicate like the roadmap and what they're going to be adding and when, like a projected timeline of things, because the game just needs content. People want to play it, but there's no reason to right now. This fucking thing launched without co-op or Forge. Like, come on. So if you don't have a ton of multiplayer content, which is the only thing that really came out aside from the campaign, which you can blast through pretty quickly, then obviously players are going to start leaving it pretty quickly once they realize that, I just did everything there is to do in the goddamn game already. So I really hope it can start finding its footing because I think Halo Infinite is a fun game just in a really bad drought right now. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about these 2 games because I was thinking about them today. And yeah, that's really about it. See ya.